There are certain entities, which we call genies, or it's demonic entities, that live amongst us and live around us. They're everywhere. There are lots of them. We just don't see them. So, of course, there are different types of these horror movies that we can separate them into. And perhaps every one of them has its own theory, why you're drawn to that type or not another. But here are some psychological explanations to why we like so much horror movies. First theory is called sensation seeking by Zuckerman in 1979. Who explained that some people are biologically more wired to seek intense emotional experiences. So horror provides us fear, but it's controlled. So you don't risk damaging your body, for example, like if you engage in some extreme sports to get that kind of amount of fear. So it's a thrill without real danger. Then we have Catharsis Theory, which means watching horror movies allows us to release certain build-up fears, aggression, or even anxiety, but in a safe way. We also have Excitation Transfer theory by Zillman in 1983, who explained that the heightened arousal from that fear that we experience when we're watching those movies can intensify emotional experiences after, even pleasure, laughter, or connection. We become more sensitive to those emotions after watching these type of movies. And then we have terror management theory, which explains that horror forces us to confront death, which makes us cling more strongly to our identity or beliefs. It reminds us of our mortality. So it seems like there is a good side of it to it all. And then we have also shadow psychology by Jung, who say that we are drawn to horror because it lets us explore our shadow side, our inner fears, impulses, and fascination with the unknown. So by looking at these theories, it seems like actually it's not such a bad thing to watch them, right? And I don't mean just films. We all know that there are many documentaries or videos by ghost hunters, by paranormal investigators, and even by mediums who would take the equipment to the cemetery and try to connect with the deceased ones and so on. We have many types of these videos that seems like connecting us to the other world, to the other realities or other dimensions. And of course, it sparks our curiosity. What else is out there? A couple of years ago, I was at the Mexico's yearly festival, Day of the Dead. In fact, I was there every year. And that was also fascinating to me because you tend to paint yourself like some kind of a horror image. And you would find all these different statues or people that are made like statues. And all of them would look grotesque and horror-like. The interesting thing, what I found when I was cleaning my phone, actually from old photos, is that my fascination with those horror images were kind of weird. This is what I say from this point of view, from after being in Islam for over a year, where I learn about Islamic studies, I read Quran, I do prayers every day. So now looking back at those photos from the Day of the Dead, and the photos that I was taking there, now I find it really weird looking at my photos and thinking like, why was I so fascinated by this? And that's quite curious. Perhaps you had that fascination with those horror genre too at some point, and maybe you're not anymore, and then you find it really weird as well. So does it mean that through watching horror movies, perhaps we're opening some kind of portal and inviting those demonic entities or genies into our life just by being there? And this is what piques our curiosity about everything, which is related to haunted stuff. For example, I could look online various haunted dolls and haunted objects. Again, they seem to be fascinating at the time. I really wanted to go to museums of those haunted objects as well. I didn't get there because it was in the US and I was in a different place. But I remember how much I wanted to go there. It was my main interest. Thanks God, it changed so much right now that right now I would love to go to Mecca instead of those museums. So what else we know is that a survey in 2020 showed that around 55% of Americans believe in the paranormal, and 45% say they've had a paranormal experience. And horror viewership increases during uncertain times, like pandemics or war, possibly linked to anxiety relief or fear processing. So in Islam, or from Islamic perspective, we know that horror and being afraid or even causing someone to be afraid, this is not welcomed at all. In fact, in Islam, fear is not an entertainment. It's a tool to wake up to truth. Because what we think from the Islamic psychology perspective, that first of all, we know that jinn are real. They live amongst us but are unseen. So from the Islamic point of view, of course, there are certain entities which we call jinnis, or it's demonic entities, that live amongst us and live around us. They're everywhere. There are lots of them. We just don't see them. And if you think like, how can I believe that they are here? Well, I can say to you, like, can you see internet waves? Can you see X-ray waves? Can you see my thoughts right now? No, there are many things which are unseen. And that's one of the things. Religious scriptures describe them really well. The types, what they like, the purpose, and what they do to us, to humans. So perhaps, as some scholars agree, that when we watch horror movies, we kind of invoke those entities and we invite them into our life. We also know that those jinnis and shayateen also, which is again, we can say that they are just demons and all that, in other language, in other terms, they tend to get close to us. They whisper, they influence us. They even influence our thoughts and moods. So if your mood changed suddenly and you feel like you don't have any motivation for anything, especially when it comes to your spiritual activities, and something is taking you away from it, this could be it. Those entities that are not interested in you pursuing your spiritual path for sure. So, do you think that we are chasing that thrill when we are watching horror movies and paranormal stuff? Because many people in our society are feeling numb. Because we are exposed to so many things that we cannot feel emotions strongly anymore. So we're trying to get those extreme emotions in the safety of our home. Or does it mean that we are fascinated by the concept of death because we don't understand it? Or maybe we are attracted to the darkness because we haven't truly met the light. So have you ever experienced anything paranormal? Do you like, or did you like, those horror movies or ghost hunting videos and things like that? What do you think? What's your theory on that? Thank you for watching, and I will see you in one of my next videos.